who aren't able to join today but are interested in this information. And so, in case we haven't met, Mariel Visner-Sigley, I'm Director of Housing, and I'm newly saying Housing Initiatives because we're seeking to take on some new things here, and it's a pleasure to see you all. And Krista Fry is with us as well. Krista, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Krista Fry. I'm the Council Casework Manager here at St. Vincent de Paul, Georgia.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I appreciate everything Krista has been doing. She really has a gift with social work, and it's amazing. So she's a wonderful resource for us here and for you guys. I'm going to share my screen now because I want to just show you guys some. So this is a training on the emergency housing voucher, which is not really named well because there's nothing emergency about it in terms of the time frame. And can you guys see the map? Okay, so what's interesting about this voucher is HUD has given this voucher nationwide, and Georgia has received the voucher for the Housing Authority to implement. And in the counties you see here that have the diagonal lines, the housing authorities are administering them directly. So if you're working with a neighbor in any of these counties that has the diagonal lines, we would not be able to do a voucher for them directly. We have authorization to do for the green and the yellow. And where you see like the blue triangles, and well, I see one blue triangle on here. I believe we could still probably do that blue and that that orange triangle as well. I think we can, but there's a question. So if you're working in Ware County or in Norcross, we'll just get that double checked if that's your neighbor's address, where they're currently residing and where they're planning to reside. So this big swath of green and yellow encompasses the balance of state continuum of care, and DCA received a number of emergency housing vouchers that the balance of state continuum of care can distribute. I don't know how many vouchers they have left. I tried to find out in anticipation for this training, and they're not quite sure because once they take in the application, then they feed it out to a different housing authority. And so they're not sure how many, I guess, have been processed and are in process. So I'm sure a big question that you have in your mind is this worth all the effort to do for a neighbor in need? And I think yes, until they tell us that they're done with this program, I think we should try to get neighbors in need in. Let me check the chat here real quick. Oh, lean back from the mic. Okay. All right. Actually, is it better if I talk directly on my phone? Is that better audio? Okay, great. Awesome, awesome. Okay, thank you for that. The next thing I want to show you guys is the DCA website. So you can see where this information is coming from. And you can access this website. And after the Zoom, I'll send out a whole lot of information. And this website link will be on there. So this is the Emergency Housing Voucher Program main website through Department of Community. It's a voucher that you're able to apply for on behalf of your neighbor in need. And again, I'll send you this link after the training. So they have 798 vouchers in total to give out, and it's very unclear how many they have left. So that's still pretty substantial though, because, and I hate to say this, but there are a lot of landlords that won't take this voucher. So if someone has been awarded one, they may actually have to return it because they were not able to find a landlord, which is really rough, especially because this is a process to apply for. So this voucher has an expansive definition of who it can assist. It's for folks who identify as homeless. They're at risk of homelessness, which I think is huge because a lot of products don't cover that at risk, but this does. Fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, or human trafficking, or recently homeless, and for whom providing rental assistance will prevent the family's homelessness or having a high risk of housing instability, including clients in rapid rehousing and permanent supportive housing programs. So this is really expansive in who can access this voucher. So let me pause here and see what questions you all have. Okay. So I'm going to scroll down here because this is really important. So if you're doing an application for these counties, we are going to submit it directly to DCA because that's what we've been advised to do. But it's also good to call the county and give them a heads up that you're working on this and that you're planning to submit it to DCA. And I would do this phone call first before going ahead with the application. So again, I'm going to send this website to you guys, but there's different phone numbers to call for the different counties. And some of the counties aren't even listed. My apologies because I just took these counties from this website when I advertised this webinar, and there are some counties that are left off. And so if that's the case, perhaps call a nearby county, or, you know, it's okay. If it's left off, then we're going to be submitting it to DCA anyways. So I will send this out to you guys. Okay, I'm going to stop this share because I've got a PowerPoint to show you next.
Ariel, can I ask a question real quick?
Please, yes, please.
So let me just understand if we're submitting one of these for a county, does it have to be just that county, or can they go within any other? So if they want Gwinnett, is it only for Gwinnett, or if they decide they see a landlord somewhere else, can they use that same voucher for somewhere else, or is it just tied to Gwinnett?
I think, and I could be wrong about this, I think it's tied to Gwinnett because it would be processed through that local housing authority, but it can be ported to another housing authority. And so there might be some time limitations on how long they have to be in Gwinnett before they're allowed to port it. But if they can't find a landlord, I think the housing authority, I personally think the housing authority should allow them to port it to find a landlord in another county. I think that in this market that's probably going to be more amenable. But I do think it's tied. So my understanding of this program is we submit our applications to DCA, and DCA in turn is going to send it to the housing authority in that area. Because this program is traditionally a housing authority program, having a voucher. And so it will ultimately be processed by that housing authority. And so those rules of porting from housing authority to housing authority, I think, will apply to this voucher as well.
Okay.
And similarly, the amount of time that they have to find a landlord is going to be by that housing authority. And I think it's generally around 120 days now, but you can request extensions.
Very long.
They might tell the neighbor less time, but keep in mind that it should be no less than 120 days. So if they tell the neighbor they've got 90 days now to find a landlord, that you can request more time.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. That was a great question. And I needed to explain the housing authority part, so I'm really glad you asked that. Okay, let's see if I can pull this up easily. Can you guys see this PowerPoint? I'm going to make it bigger. Are you guys able to see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I did not make this PowerPoint. This is actually from DCA. I got it from them. Okay. So they, have limited staff and they're not able to do all the on the ground applications. So they've allowed us caseworkers to be able to submit applications to them, and they've kind of given us this primer on how to do it. So we already talked about what this voucher is, and nationwide there are 70,000 housing choice vouchers, emergency housing vouchers, which is really remarkable. And we talked about who qualifies for it. And I'll send this PowerPoint as well. This is just a bigger version of that map that you guys saw before. And it's cut off at the top and bottom. Okay, so this is nice. I was really glad to learn this. If someone jumps through the hoops to get this voucher and they're awarded a voucher, because of the marketplace that we're in right now, there are benefits that they're offering landlords to take the voucher. And that is up to $500 for a landlord to lease to them. And then financial assistance for that application up to $75. Security deposit of up to 2 months rent. Up to $100 in utility assistance. And it says a dedicated staff to provide customer service to valued landlord partners. I don't know how that's done exactly, but that sounds very nice. So that's great. So this is just really good to know. And that's when you're on the other side of this. But I think this is really thoughtfully done. Okay, how to refer clients. So we're going to go through kind of the documents a little bit, but I'm going to email them out as well. But the important thing is at the end of the day, we're not sending them to the housing authority. We're sending them to this DCA email. We're calling that number first for the county to let them know that we're going to be submitting an application to learn more about the geography of where you are, because I'm sure that there are nuances in the different areas of the state. But ultimately, we're going to be sending the email to DCA. So even if you don't hear back from the housing authority, if you can't get a hold of someone, you can still send it to this DCA email box. And I'm going to see if we can get some advice about how to send things in an encrypted manner. If there's an easy way to do that, because this is a lot of sensitive information that, is going to be emailed. So if there's a way to do that, I'm going to ask someone who's been volunteering here who's very tech savvy. If you guys have knowledge about how to do that, I think that would be a really good thing to do. Okay, so the documents that DCA is going to want to see for the neighbor in need are listed here on this checklist. And we'll go through them. This is the voucher eligibility certification and referral form that's referenced on that checklist. And you would actually be signing this form as the person helping the applicant. And St. Vincent de Paul, Georgia would be listed as the agency name, and you could put your conference information there as well. And this is referral information form, how to refer it. They'll be filling this out as well and sending it along. And then this is a checklist of information that will be sent along with the application. The homeless certification form explains what's going on with their living circumstances, why they're being referred to this program, and the process. So once, so this is an interesting process here. So once it goes through us over to DCA, I think ultimately for us, they're going to go through this process and prioritize and send it along to the Housing Choice Voucher program. So this, for us, we're referring for this voucher. We're not able to refer for rapid rehousing or permanent supportive housing. We're just presenting for the voucher. So this slide is not that relevant to us, actually. And this actually has an invaluable contact on it. This is for someone at DCA, which is where we'll be submitting the applications. So this PowerPoint, I'll be sending it to you as well. And you're also welcome to reach out to me when you do these applications, and I'll try to be as helpful as I can be. There's a good chance that I'll be contacting Isaac to ask for his opinion and his guidance on your questions. So let me pause here for questions. Okay, so the next thing I want to share with you guys is, bear with me just a second, the actual application form that will be emailed to you. Oh, I'm in a slideshow. Okay. Bear with me.
I do have a question.
Okay.
Based on your experience, how long does it take to complete this process? I understand it's not for emergency, like somebody says, I'm going to be evicted next week or whatever, but do you have any experience with that in regards to the time frame? It looks like quite a bit of things to do.
Yes. I have not personally submitted one of these applications yet. There is another Vincentian who's already submitted one, and it looks like it's a couple months, between 4 to 6 months for the processing.
Okay.
And that is including the local housing authority piece. And I mentioned this to Krista earlier when we were talking about this, but we do the initial forms, and then the housing authority might have some additional forms that they want as well.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So there could be a little bit more on the front end from the housing authority too. So I'm going to share now this this application form. Here it is. Okay. So this is the meat of what you would be doing, really, this application form. And I'm going to scroll through it pretty quickly because you're going to get it by email. But this is a lot of information about the household and their income, because this is, you know, a program that depends on their income in terms of a lot of things, including how much their voucher is going to be allocated to them, because it's based on their income, how much they'll pay in terms of their rent. So it's going to either be 30% of their income or 10%. I believe it's whichever one is lower. 30% of their income or 10% of their monthly income or 10% of their annual, I think is how it works. But a minimum of $50 a month. So this is very good in this marketplace. If you can find a landlord to accept this voucher, that is just such a blessing to have that subsidy. So this is the application that you would be helping with. And you would have everyone sign it, all of the adults. I apologize for the little dings on my phone. So that's that application. I wonder if I can just hit my tabs or if I need to cancel my screen sharing for each one. So let's see. I want to show you also the who they will deny. There's a list. Okay. Can you guys see this grounds for denial of assistance? Okay, great. So this is who's not going to be approved. And again, I'll email every document that we've gone over today. But these are who not to refer to this program. There should be an appeal process if they do deny someone and the person doesn't believe that it's justified. Then I believe that because this is a program through the state from HUD, that there would be an appeal process. Okay, so that is that. And then I also want to show you self-certifications. So this is on the other side of it. After you've gotten the voucher and you found an apartment, this is a certification that the apartment meets the criteria, that it's well maintained and safe. That's not the one I actually want to show you. I wanted to show you guys this one. So they do have this form in case someone does not have their disability determination yet. This form allows them to self-certify their disability status. So you'll be getting that form. I don't know if you'll end up needing this, but this is, I guess, if someone can't find their birth certificate to identify their date of birth, they do have this form. This will be required so that DCA can do all the information requests that they're going to be doing, background checks, credit report checks, all that stuff. They'll need to sign this release, giving their consent for their information to be looked into. I think we already looked at this homeless certification form. If someone is eligible due to trafficking, there's a special form in the application for that. This is another release of information so that their information can be looked into. Yeah, so those are the forms, and this is again the checklist. And it is intensive on the front end. And it is a question mark about whether the person will get the voucher. So I would couch this saying we're going to submit this for you, and we have the expectation that it will be granted, but it's not confirmed until it's confirmed. So what questions do you have?
I have a question.
Yeah.
It said about 8 months to go through this and get it approved. And then the individual finds a landlord that will accept the voucher, and that you have a 90-day, 120-day period. And what is the length of the voucher? How long will that person continue to receive the voucher, or the landlord receive the voucher for that tenant? Does there have an expiration?
That is such a good question. And so I'm smiling about this because this is a good answer. It should be continued to be funded through HUD for a good number of years. So it should really it should just really become a part of the Housing Authority's voucher stock. And so I cannot specify a number of years. It would probably be more than 5 that this would be funded. So it could actually be funded permanently. That's a federal decision based on the allocation for the voucher. But ideally, it would be treated just like the other vouchers, and it wouldn't have an expiration date, but it's just not guaranteed. So I would again couch it conservatively, and I would say at least 5 years. In my mind, I'm thinking it's probably at least 8 to 10, but just because I'm not the person who's relying on it, I'd probably couch it more conservatively. But this should become just a normal voucher for the Housing Authority. It really should.
Okay.
That's such a good question.
If the individual, the recipient of this voucher, changes landlords, can they transfer that voucher to a new landlord by just resubmitting all the paperwork, or do they have to go right back to the beginning of the system?
They can change landlords. They would have to go through the process of determining, that the property meets the inspection for the voucher. and they should be able to change it. So their voucher amount is also, the amount that they'll have to spend is based on the community. The voucher worth is going to be based on the zip code.
Right.
And so they'll be given an amount that they can spend. And then if the rent is higher than their voucher amount, they can agree to pay more, and it would be out of pocket for them. The housing authority is not supposed to allow them to get it in over 40% of their monthly income. So if their rent is going to be more than 40% of their 1/3 of their income, it won't allow them to change to do that, to enter into that agreement.
Okay. So there
And
are
that's
conditions.
rent plus utilities. There are conditions upon where they're going to move into. But if they can't find something in the rent level that's given, they are allowed to use their own money to pay up more, to
make up the
increase the
difference.
rental amount.
Right.
You got it. Exactly. And as long as that meets the criteria, they should be able to move to a different landlord that would take their voucher. Related to that, if they get evicted, they could lose their voucher. Part
Right.
of the program, depending on the housing authority, could say, if you have an eviction, then you're kicked out of this program.
Right.
It's potential. It's going to come down to the paperwork that they get when the voucher is issued.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's why if you have someone you're working with as a conference and they have a voucher and they're in an eviction, I would probably rate that a higher priority than someone without a voucher, because they could get banned from having a voucher in the next couple of years if they lose it.
Muriel, is
Yeah.
this program for families only, or can a single individual also qualify?
A single person can qualify.
Okay.
And interestingly, if the single person is pregnant, they will actually be perceived as two people. So they can get a bigger unit, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And if they have a caretaker, they'll also get a bigger unit size. They'll get a 2-bedroom.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to stop my share so I can see everybody. I'm wondering, let me view gallery. Okay. I'm wondering if anyone is planning to do an application for someone in the near horizon. Does anybody have someone in mind that they're working with? Krista? Anyone else? Not
Uh,
yet? Okay.
I have someone I'm considering, but she does have a history of assault. I don't know if it's within 12 months or not. She's Social Security disability for mental health issues. And she's been red flagged from our conference.
Okay, so for her, there's another voucher called the Georgia Housing Voucher Program that she can do. It's for people with severe and persistent mental illness. And I'll send you information about that. Could you put your email in the chat?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. And if anyone else is interested in that, I can put that in the email that goes out, actually. I'll just put it in the email to everyone. It's the Georgia Housing Voucher Program, and it's a different voucher program. Interestingly, this one is actually funded by tax dollars in Georgia.
Thank you.
Yes, please
You're
share.
welcome. Yeah, I will do that. And that one comes with supportive services, or it's supposed to, but in some areas of the state, it's harder to have those connections, but they're really working on creating supportive services across the state. So that's a good voucher. And you might find that she would qualify for this. Feel free to reach out to DCA to see if it's worth putting in an application for her. So good. So you guys can just keep this in your toolbox. It will close because they will run out of vouchers. date to be determined. And if you do one of these, let me know, because I'm really interested to know how it's going. The other Vincentian I was speaking with, Joanne, who's working on one, she said, you know, this is a trial. This is a big, you know, effort. But she did a great job with it, and it's in process right now. So I'm very hopeful that it will be granted, and really make a difference for that neighbor. So
One more thing, Muriel. I know you showed that map twice and it had diagonal lines, and Cobb County was one that had the diagonal lines. For those areas, it's not acceptable at this time. Just remind me what the diagonal lines meant.
sure. Yeah, no, they got their own vouchers, or they didn't
Okay.
get vouchers, but more likely they got their own vouchers and they're not administering it through DCA, where
Gotcha.
the balance of state is where we were invited to submit these applications. But interestingly, I've been speaking with a neighbor needing Cobb, and she really, really needs a voucher. And so I asked her to reach out to Marietta Housing Authority to see if they got any of these, if they're processing them, if she can apply for it. Because I know they have a lottery system there, and she's been unsuccessful in the lottery. So I said, well, maybe they did get some of these emergency housing vouchers. Why don't you ask about that? And so just this week, she asked them. So remind me to tell you what she learns from the Housing Authority, because she's been in their ear and she had email addresses for them. So it's like, well, that's better than me searching the internet
Right.
for them. Contact your contacts. Let me know.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes, you indicated there's 700 vouchers approximately, and you showed the map of the counties, and I didn't count them, but it looked like there was quite a few. Is there any plan that your organization has to allocate these amongst the different counties before the applications are sent out, instead of it becoming first come, first serve?
I don't think so. So I'm with you guys. I'm with St. Vincent de Paul, Georgia. I don't think there's any plan to do that, though. I think it's first come, first serve. That's my understanding in my conversations.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Sure. It's also hard for them to get the word out about this program because they don't have, you know, advertisements and commercials and stuff.
Right.
So it's hard to kind of spread the word. So I think that it's good for us to be able to be in the different conferences and know about this program.
Oh, no, I think that's a good idea. It was just that maybe by the time that someone in Lumpkin County gets everything together in order to complete an application, they may all have been taken.
Yep, it's possible. Yes, yes, yes. And I hazard to say this, but since communication is difficult, I don't know how they're going to communicate when they're done, you know, because they're waiting on applications to be processed in the different counties.
Right.
So I guess I need to be in touch with our contact, say, let me know when you close, so that we're not spinning our wheels unnecessarily.
Right. But that
If
phone number
someone's
that you,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean, but the phone number you
no,
provided
please.
for the cluster of counties that we said was the first step in pursuing this, when you call them, they would know. Is that correct?
I don't think they'll know because DCA, Balance of State, has the allocation of vouchers, and DCA should know. You're going to be submitting your application to DCA, and DCA is going to be working with the Housing Authority to process it.
Right.
And some of them are going to be processed, and some of them are going to be denied. And so it's a combination between those two organizations to determine at the end of the day how many vouchers they have left.
All right.
So DCA ultimately should tell us when they're done.
Okay. All right. With the regional DCA, because I think that's in Gainesville, would they know if you contacted them?
No, I don't think they'll know.
Okay.
I think it's so precisely organized. I think that there's Isaac and his supervisor, Joshua. I think the two of them would be the point of contact for this program,
Right.
because DCA is doing so many different programs. I think this one's pretty specific. So if you were to call the number on the website and say, hey, I'm going to be submitting an application for my neighbor in need. I'm in this county and I'm going to be submitting it to DCA. What they should say is, great, we look forward to getting it processed when DCA is done with it. That would be ideal. What would not be ideal is they're saying, I don't know what you're talking about. That would be bad.
Right.
So, you know, that's why I think it's good to just, you know, if you're in one of those counties that's marked, just to get the lay of the land, because it's ultimately going to end up to be a local housing authority involved.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate your answer.
It's confusing. It is confusing. And when it does go to the housing authority, they may send you more paperwork. Oh, Eileen's in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Admit? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah. He hasn't been there for a while. I wasn't looking at that side of my screen. I need to turn off that feature when we do these Zooms. So, okay. I'm going to ask my colleague here to send just a follow-up email to everybody that's got all these resources, and then you'll have them for if you want to submit an application. You'll have it, you know, at your fingertips to be able to do that. And these vouchers just generally are few and far between. It's kind of like gold to have a housing voucher. So if someone can get one of these vouchers and then find a landlord, it's very worthwhile. So I wish you well if you decide to do one of these applications for someone or for a family.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And now you also know me too. So if you're working with a neighbor and you're confused about something involved, I'll try to help or reach out to someone who can help as you go through your cases. So you'll have my contact info as well. So,
We had one question regarding available housing, and we were wondering if DCA approves a voucher, you know, through the local office, how do we match it up with a landlord? Are we supposed to be working the landlord program simultaneously, or what?
From what I have seen, it really is a lot of pressure on the tenant to find the landlord, to go and look at listings and to figure that out. That's what I've seen. In the PowerPoint from DCA, it said that they did have some kind of support for that. I have really just seen in the metro area where people are struggling to find landlords. I think that is a really difficult thing. Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
We'll try to make contact with our local office and see if we can work from there. I appreciate everything that you presented today, and all of our caseworkers here do as well. Thank you.
Oh, good. You're welcome. You're welcome. And there are some nice perks. I mean, you know, the PowerPoint showed that the landlord can get that bonus for giving, for taking the voucher. That's nice. That's a nice thing. And I assume that that would not be through DCA. I'm pretty sure that would be through your local housing authority, how to get that reimbursed and funded and such. So to be continued on that. Okay, so I mean, this is a program that ordinarily the housing authorities administer. We're in a unique position to be able to offer this. So that it is a lot of legwork and there are some questions. So, yeah. All right, everyone, thank you all so much. I will circulate this information and we'll see if some of our neighbors in need can qualify and have success with getting one of these vouchers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Muriel.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. See y'all later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.